Welcome back. You're watching The Capital Point. Thank you so much for taking part in the online conversation. Atnyoike says Kenya has lost its competitiveness due to high taxation. The government should remove all taxes on energy. You put in brackets electricity and petroleum products. And in the long run, revenue for the country will grow from the growing businesses. Thank you so much for being part of that conversation. The hashtag online is The Capital Point. The handle is at Metropole TV Kenya. Now, on the 9th of August this year, President Uhuru Kenyatta established the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, effectively merging the Brand Kenya Board and the Export Promotion Council. Known by the acronyms Keproba, the agency is required to promote and brand Kenya as a supplier of high-quality goods and services. The establishment of the agency is in line with an integrated national exports development and promotion strategy, which the government launched in efforts to grow Kenya's output at an average rate of 25% per year. And now to delve deeper into how Kenya can grow its exports, Peter Biwott, the CEO of the new agency, Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, is our guest tonight on The Capital Point. Thank you so much for being our first guest on the show. Of course, very exciting show for us because we really want to impact, Kenyan producers, Kenyan manufacturers, and to let them know, what opportunities are in that space. So thank you for making time to.
Thank you very much, Terian, for inviting me. I'm also happy to hear that this is the first show, and I'm glad to be here to be part of it.
Thank you so much. So first things first, Keproba was set up to align the different government efforts in terms of branding the country and maximizing the country's potential as an export in the export market. There's the Kenya Tourism Board. There's so many other agencies that are sort of involved, and this is just the first, or so we think, of government efforts to align. Just tell us a little bit about what enabled that decision.
Thank you very much. I think, first of all, I must say that this is one of the most successful. This is one of the successful mergers in this country. Normally, if you look at rationalization of institutions, the basic objective is actually to align and bring a unified approach in how the country promotes or the country walks her economic path. And if you see what has happened is that there is a merger of two marketing organizations. Of course, as you've said, this is just an initial step towards ensuring that the country comes up with very strong economic institutions. And looking at it, we must really congratulate His Excellency the President for really coming up with this new agency. We know that there are very good examples in this region of countries who have actually come up with institutions. For a country, actually, I don't think we need to have a lot of state agencies dealing on the same issues.
Absolutely.
And you can see Rwanda has really made the biggest stride in terms of creating one institution which is called the Rwanda Development Board, which deals with investment, it deals with tourism, it deals with trade promotion, it deals with even special economic zones, export processing, and I think this is just a start, and I must say that we support government reform agenda and hope in our lifetime, at least in the few years, maybe by 2022, we should have one Kenya parastatal dealing on all those aspects so that we create efficiency and we create strong economic institutions that will support the country to move forward faster economically.
Tell us, as the new CEO, of course you have been at the Export Promotion Council, but as the new CEO of the new Keproba body, what are you setting your sights on from a strategic perspective, just to start with?
In fact, even before we think about what we do, we want this to be the best and the most successful merger to encourage the country to rally behind reforms and to encourage the country to see that we need to really bring institutions together. First of all, because a country's economic trajectory, or if a country has to really grow at high rates that the Vision 2030 says we need to grow by 10%, then we need to set up institutions which are quite effective, lean, and one-stop shops where Kenyans do not have to move from another institution to another one looking for services, delivery of services at a one-stop shop. And therefore, as a new institution, first of all, we are looking at ensuring, first of all, that we become very efficient, we become, fully operational, and also now to start focusing on our key mandates, which is export promotion and now the area of branding. Looking at how can we be able to increase the basket of Kenyan products sold in the region, just focusing on priority markets like Africa, and looking at all those other markets. You can see from those statistics that Kenya, we still have we have a lot to do actually in bridging the gap between importation and exportation. So straight away we are embarking and scaling up our operations. We've been working on programs like product development and market development. So we want to do them in large scale.
Does that directly speak to the manufacturers, the individual manufacturing
Definitely.
companies?
In fact, as of course we are aligned to the Big Four agenda, and we are looking at the 80-20 rule first of all as a priority, looking at how can we be able to first of all ensure that the utilization capacity of the current manufacturing farms is even increased, because if you look at the utilization capacity on average, they are at 40%. So if they can move up to 60% or 70%, that's how we can be able to increase our exports. And then we are also focusing on increasing enterprises, and that is why the small medium enterprises are very critical. This country cannot bridge that deficit of 1.15 trillion Kenya shillings if we do not have many Kenyans playing a role in production of exportable products, value addition, and therefore also entering into the manufacturing sector.
And you raise a valid point. Majority of our audiences are people who are in the SME space and are looking to get into that space as well. How do they get into into the export space? Well,
the first important thing to realize is we must have Kenyans entering entrepreneurship, just owning companies. The Companies Act of 2015 is quite easy. It has made it easy for Kenyans to register companies. So the most important thing, first of all, is to have a company, get interested in doing business, and then when you get interested in the export business, as an organization we have a service we offer Kenyans called sharing of trade information. So the most important thing is, first of all, you need to decide and say, okay, do I want to focus on goods or services? If you want to focus on goods, then which are the goods which will which are readily available, and they are the goods which are earning the country the most income. You can see in that list we have tea, we have articles of apparel, home decor products, handicrafts, we have textile there, we have coffee. So once you decide, because we have cases of companies here in Kenya who visited the Export Promotion Council then when it was formed, and the entrepreneurs just came and said, which is the product, which is the markets. And as an organization, we have the capacity to do trade flow analysis for every country in the world. If you tell me to do for you today, Russia, I will do it for you. I will show you the opportunities there. I will show you the markets. You will be able to get to know where you can sell your product, what are the things you need to do to reach that market. And of course, in a coordinated approach, we'll be able to link you to various government facilitatory institutions, depending on what product. If it is an agricultural product, of course, definitely you have to look at those government agencies that facilitate agricultural products. Until now, you reach at a level where you need to now go in the space of single window, where you now go to the Kenya Trade Network. So that is the process. For every commodity, there is a procedure, and at our Center for Business Information, we have all those procedures, which we want to now improve by way of moving from a physical office to online. This is some of the new offerings that we want to do in the near future, establishing an online platform where Kenyans can be able to access how to enter into export business and what are the procedures, which are the markets, what are the commodities.
Let's talk about diversification for a moment there. We've seen in our earlier presentation and the data that tea, coffee, apparel, and those are sectors that are industries and sectors that are already pretty well developed. Is there an opportunity for diversification?
Of course, definitely. There are those products which are traditional. We call them traditional because you talk about tea, those are Kenyan products which are known. But there are certain other products which we can venture on, like traditional and artisan products, which are not commonly traded in our country. products like handicrafts, which is an upcoming sector mostly for youth and women. You know the kissy stones, decorations, home deco products, apparel, textile products, so some of these kind of products. So what we are doing, we are trying to map out all the products. Actually, we have done it, and we just want to scale it to ensure that for every county we exhaust and come up with a list of those exportable products. Because once we know
down to
them,
the county level.
down to the county level, so that once and the national export strategy has attempted and actually documented some of those products, but we want to go to details, and for every county we know what are the priority products, including services. And then once we know this, then we start now developing export promotion programs. These are programs which we are almost launching, which is called Kenya Export Development, Exporter Development and Promotion Program, where we want to focus on as we focus on the big ones, we also focus largely on the SMEs to develop them from company registration to developing products like L.T. L.T, which is a Kenyan company, is an SME company. This is a company which is an upcoming company, and they're trying to add value to tea. Actually, it's based in Eldoret, and they're trying to add value to tea. It's a company which is owned by a family. It's a family business, and we've been able to do with them test marketing in Dar es Salaam. They were there showcasing their product, and we're trying to reach as many markets as possible. And as I told you earlier, we have the Kenyan youth. You see this one. Yes. This one is an eco table.
Yes.
It's made of waste paper.
Like papier-mâché.
It's waste paper like this, which is used, newspapers. And they've been able to develop it. They came to me today and they were saying that we need to help them in terms of developing this product through our product development program, which entails even design, patenting, standardization, all those kind of processes. And this is part of growing the SME sector. So there's a huge opportunity for Kenya, and especially with our targets to achieve, the Big Four agenda, manufacturing agenda. We need to focus on this kind of innovation. The table is made by a group called Vijana Wangufu in Kiambu County. And soon we are going to visit them. We are going to put them under the product development program. A lot of our biggest companies today, like Bidco, like Melfin Mash International, who export tea, have grown as a result of interventions by the Export Promotion Council then. And we've seen a lot of fruits out of our activities. And now with the branding element, because we have to really focus on looking at how can we grow Kenyan brands.
Yes, and that's an incredible point. And I see in front of us we've got a number of Kenyan brands. And I want you to just take us through it and talk us through how important it is to brand your product a specific way for the export market.
First of all, let me just define and say, when you talk about branding, this is a subject that we are rolling out, and we want to ensure that many Kenyans actually understand. For your country to be viewed positively by the rest of the world, you must be doing very well in terms of attraction of investment. You must be a country where investments can really easily thrive, and people can come and they can do those kind of businesses. The people must be warm, a country where people are warm, happy people who are very helpful, people who are very supportive, very productive. You must also appreciate your culture and heritage. It must be a country developing its culture, art, music, these kind of ventures, promoting them to showcase, because you must be proud about yourself as a country and look at your culture. Don't despise your culture compared to other cultures which are not yours. So they look at that one. And also governance. How are you doing in terms of efficiency, fairness, effectiveness of government? How is government intervening to ensure that government services are offered very easily to wananchi? And above all, how are you doing in terms of exports? How is your country doing in terms of exports? Because when your country is viewed positively, then other nationals of the world will be able to appreciate and buy your products, because they love them, they know it's high quality, they know it's from a country which is a country of fairness, there's democracy in that country, there is peace and harmony, people are coexisting very well, and they appreciate their culture. So that's how it is done. And these products which we have brought today was just to use them as a demonstration, because when you talk about country brands, all of us as citizens are molecules of the country brand. When you talk about, Kenya, it is about what comes out of Kenya. As a result of Kenya, as a result of what is happening in the country, we have a very vibrant financial sector.
Yes.
We have banks which have which have actually grown beyond our borders. We have in the mobile, in the telecommunication sector, companies which have grown and they have gone beyond our borders. So I just wanted to bring this product so that I can demonstrate and show you how country brand plays a role in terms of, promotion of a country's, exports in part. And this product is a Chinese product.
Is that tea?
This is tea,
Okay.
Chinese tea. And if you want to know about Chinese brands, you just look at the color. So by looking at the red color, you know that that is a Chinese product. When you go to a hotel, when you see red, you know this is China, Chinese restaurant. That is what
And the packaging is beautiful.
That's how they managed to reach out. And if you look at today, if you look at China trade with the rest of the world, beginning in the 1980s. Before 1980s, during the 1980s up to 1990s, in the top 10 leading exporting nations in the world, you will never see China. But within that short period of time, today, China is a #1 exporter of their goods and services worldwide.
They learned how to do their branding properly.
Yes, and it's about promoting China. When it is about financial sector, it's about China. When it is, goods and services, it's about China.
Yes.
And what we have done in our country is, as a result of this new institution which is upcoming, we have programs which we have set up that we want to work with our exporters to see how can we partner together and promote the Made in Kenya brand. We have a mark of identity which was launched in 2018 during the second trade week. And this is what we want to start. I think we have already started, and we want to really aggressively reach out to all our exporters. The most important thing, and this is what we've seen other countries doing, this is Kenyan coffee. And you can easily notice that it is Kenyan coffee because top here, it is written Kenya, premium Kenya coffee. This is how
So
it's supposed to be.
It already says Kenya.
This is how it's supposed to be. And there is the mark of identity. The only challenge we have here is that this mark of identity has been put as black and white. That is not how it is. It is
Supposed to
patented.
be.
The way it is patented. The way it is patented is like what is in this bread. If you look at this mark of identity, it is colored. This is how it is. There is the mark well colored there, and it is written Made in Kenya. So this is something that we want to really aggressively push, so that even as we do the government preference.
I just want to show
Under
that Made in Kenya.
Yes, under the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. Under the
Okay.
Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, we want to recommend and say maybe in the near future, products which are branded Made in Kenya, using the mark of identity, should be given priority in terms of Buy Kenya, Build Kenya.
Yes.
In terms
And
of
how does a manufacturer get that?
we have a criteria. We reach out to them. Of course, we have a criteria which they go through. They register. They express interest, and we must ensure that first of all, they comply to all statutory requirements. You must be tax compliant. You must have gone through all standardization procedures, and upon getting the Kenya Bureau of Standard mark, then we have the Made in Kenya mark installed, placed in your product.
When you speak to entrepreneurs, I mean, some of the products we're seeing on the table now are really, incredible Kenyan brands.
Yes.
When you speak to them and when they're ready or not ready to get into the export markets, what are some of the challenges that they say they face?
I think the most important thing, first of all, is to address issues of information asymmetry. They want to know which is the profitable, which are profitable markets. How can they be able to get into those markets? Like those who are interested in China, for example, would like to know how can they be able to overcome, any barrier which exists. How can we be able to achieve, like during 2018, the country was able to sign the SPS protocol on a few products, including avocado. So what is that process that leads their product to be registered in the with the Chinese customs? Then what are those requirements? Then once they are registered at the Chinese, for example, customs, and they fulfill all the requirements, then they start the process of who are the logistics companies who will help us to reach to the Chinese market. And you know, for the Chinese market, it is quite different. For them, they have embraced the concept of e-commerce. So the most important thing is, before you start accessing Chinese market, you also need to be enjoined in one of those online platforms like Alibaba or JD.com, or another one which we have signed an MOU with called the China Africa B2B.com. And translation into Chinese, because you know most of the Chinese people don't speak English.
Yes.
So these are some of the things that a lot of the entrepreneurs would like to know.
Okay.
And what we do as an organization is to ensure that we provide timely, accurate information, reaching out to all our exporters. We have, we will be setting up resource centers at Nairobi and every county, where we want to put all information about markets, about what are the opportunity products, including even pricing of the same. And above all, we want to really come out strongly on the question of branding, to see how can we use our Kenyan products, as Kenyan brands.
Yes.
How do we become patriotic to our country and showcase our country as that country which is the source of quality products.
And
We
and
don't
make
want-
money while at it, of
Because
course.
you see, if you have to be identified as a leading brand nation, a country brand, then the world citizen consuming your products must know that those are Kenyan products. You know, and there are certain policy reforms and legal legislative reforms, including, the enactment of geographical indication law, which will ensure that Kenyan product earns premium, even as other countries buy, to blend with theirs.
Such as
The
tea and
Kenyan
coffee.
product identity
Yes.
is not lost,
Yes.
so that Kenya can get that value and that income out of that.
All right.
And I can tell you, the health of an economy is dependent on exports.
Absolutely.
This country, all of us, we must focus on seeing how can we be able to produce products for export. This country cannot develop, our nature and structure of our economy is dependent a lot on production of exportable products and exporting products in the world. That is the only way
Yeah.
Kenya will develop to the next
Let's,
level.
let's talk about AGOA for a moment. We've seen in the data 60% of the products that go into the US market is apparels, mostly from the EPZ front. But AGOA has about 6,000 product lines that Kenyans can actually tap into. Why has that not
That is why,
expanded that?
yes, that's why I'm saying we need to inculcate a culture of a working nation. Our youth should not only go to school and focus on getting white-collar jobs. We need to see how can, you see, the idea of TVET and other initiatives like those ones is actually meant to drive a lot of Kenyans to go into the productive businesses. You see, the AGOA market is a huge market. It gives us a lot of opportunities. One of the biggest issues that we need to do now, opportunities that we need to do, is to see how can we diversify our exports to the AGOA market from the less than 20 to even 100. And that takes a deliberate move for us to reach out to our Kenyans, talk to them, ensure that we produce sufficient quantities. One of the reasons why apparel has maintained that number in terms of exports to the US is because of the large quantities of production. We have very vibrant apparel companies, manufacturing companies in Kenya. So even for the other sectors, like even macadamia, avocado is being exported. Actually, the US market is the leading market for our avocado, dried and fresh. So we need to enhance productivity of those lines of products. So our duty as an organization is that we are taking these products, we are identifying those which are available in Kenya, the 100, and taking it to Kenyans for Kenyans to start focusing on production of the same and seeing how can we be able to bridge that gap. And there's a strategy already which has been put in place, which is Kenya AGOA strategy, which seeks to grow exports in that market by 10% every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
All right. As we come to an end, just perhaps a word of advice to manufacturers, especially the small-scale manufacturers out there who might be interested in getting into the export market. What would you tell them?
I think the most important thing is to fight on. You need to work very hard. I know I've been able to interact with a lot of these manufacturers. I want to encourage them to scale up. The most important thing now for Kenya is to see the partnership that we have with countries like China and European countries is for you now to focus on some of those countries to acquire new technology, because that's going to scale you to the next level. Look at government agencies like IDP Capital, who have loan for purchase of technology in India. So they need to take interest, come out, and meet with us, meet with government agencies like even Kenya Industrial Estates, ICDC, get support in terms of accessing technology, because technology is going to enable them to upscale their production. And we focus on the African continent. This is our immediate market. There's a lot of opportunity in the African continent. Recently, we went to DRC, and we found out that in the DRC market, a lot of the manufactured juice, apart from Kevian, of course, Kevian, our Kenyan company, has really made a lot of interest in DRC. A lot of the juice come from Europe, countries like Austria. A lot of their,
yet we're right next door.
Yes, a lot of their milk, beef, come from outside the continent. And yet it is just a few hours from Nairobi. And that's why we are scaling up our promotional activities, our target marketing, our target marketing strategies to the neighboring countries. Soon we are going to have a roadshow through Uganda, Rwanda, up to DRC. And many Kenyans need to be bold. We need to enter into Africa. In fact, it was Kenya who was the first one to ratify the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And our youth, we should not fear to go across the continent looking for opportunities. I was so happy when we were in Tanzania. We did a diaspora forum during 2018 Dar es Salaam International Trade Fair, and we saw a lot of Kenyans. And Kenyans talked to us positive things about Tanzania, and they said, for Tanzania, compliance, just like Kenya. If you comply and follow the rules and laws, you will do a lot of business in Tanzania.
All right, okay.
But the moment you start things which does not align to compliance, you will be in trouble. Just like in Kenya.
Yeah,
anybody
absolutely.
who doesn't comply, you will be in trouble, definitely.
Thank you so much for making time to be with us tonight and for shining the light on matters export, especially encouraging entrepreneurs who may be already in the space where they can and haven't gotten there already. We've been speaking to Peter Biwott, the CEO of the new agency, Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency. Thank you so much. We're taking a short break. We'll be back in just a moment.